G'day folks, it's Phil from 15 Minute Guitar Practice here. If you're missing strings when you try to play something, here is the probable cause, and here is how to fix it. So what's the problem you're having and how do we solve it? Well, I think the problem is related to whatever you're trying to play, you're using alternate picking. Now, alternate picking just seems to be generally accepted as the default guitar position when it comes to playing anything. And I don't subscribe to that. I think we should look at what it is you're playing and the context around it before you decide on what picking motions you're going to use to execute. But quite commonly, if you're missing strings, it's because your pick direction is at odds with the location of the next note you're about to play. And by location, I don't mean fret number, I mean location as in, is it above the string you're playing or below the string you're playing in terms of, is it closer to the sky or closer to the floor? Let's take an example. Here is the intro to Taylor Swift's Love Story. This is played on the top 4 strings, and the string order is as follows. We start on the D string, then the G, top E, B, top E again, B again, G, and lastly the B, before the whole thing repeats. Now, I'm not saying it can't be done, but that is a lot of alternate picking, and you can see my hand twisting quite a lot. Usually you're missing strings because you're not getting the angle of the pick right. So what's the solution? Well, the solution I'm proposing here is just to pay a bit more attention to the context of this piece and look at the string you're on and the string you need to play. And if the string that you're about to play is above the string you're currently playing, then you need to play an upstroke. And if the next note you're going to play is on a string below, i.e. closer to the ground, then you need to play your current note with a downstroke. So you can use the inertia of that pick stroke to get to the string. So if we were not to play this with alternate picking and use this method, we would have something like this. So what is happening here? I'm playing the D string, I'm playing a downstroke. That's fine. The next note is on the G string. So do I play an upstroke or a downstroke? Well, before we decide, we have to look at the next note, the note we're going to play after that G string and what string that's on. The next note after we play the G string is a note on the top E. And so that is below the G string. So we need to play the first note with a downstroke, the second note also with a downstroke, and then we get to the top E. Now, do we play the top E with an upstroke or a downstroke? Well, it's all really dependent, like I said, on what note you play after that. The note you play after that is on the B string, and that is above. So you need to play this E string with an upstroke so you can use it to get to the B string. Now, do we play upstroke or downstroke for the B string? We play a downstroke because the note after we play on the B string is the top E again. So downstroke here, then upstroke on the top E. Why? Because the note we play after this top E is the B string. Now, do we play the B string with an upstroke or a downstroke? Well, this time I'm going to play it with an upstroke. Why? Because the note that follows is played on the G string. So that's above, so I'm going to use an upstroke to get to there. Then when we get to the G string, what do I use, upstroke or downstroke? I'm using a downstroke because the final note is going to be on the B string. So downstroke on the G string, which will take me to the B string. And finally, I'll end with an upstroke on the B string, because that is the final note in the sequence, and that upstroke is going to take me all the way back to the D string once again. So that looks like this. As opposed to this. Big difference, I think. So let's take a closer look at the picking motion involved in both of these techniques. With alternate picking, you can see that there's a lot more hand and wrist motion required to adjust the angle of the pick so that it successfully strikes the strings. And you can see that the pick is making these kind of scooped, very shallow U-shaped motions as it moves across the string. Generally, the more movement there is in something, the more margin there is for error, which is probably what causes you to miss the strings, especially when your pick direction is moving in the opposite direction from the movement you make with your hand to get to the next string. So you can see with this contextual picking that the motion is much smoother, and I'm using the pick stroke direction of my previous note to get to my destination of the next string. This is particularly useful when you're playing one note per string and you need to shift strings on every single pick stroke. So that is the way I see it. Will it work for you? Well, I think it will. Give it a go and let me know in the comments. 9 times out of 10, my students who are having this problem, I recommend this method. And certainly, although there are those 2 distinct paths you can take, keep going with the alternate picking until you get it. This one, my students favor because it simply gets them there sooner. And if you look at the picking motion, it's actually a far more fluid and harmonious mechanic. So that's all from me today. If you've enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, give me a thumbs down. Let me know what your other thoughts are in the comments. And this is Phil from 15 Minute Guitar Practice saying bye for now. Cheers.